So I'm going to take you through the characteristics of autism. There's 3 domains of impairment, like I was mentioning before. So there's social relating, communication, and range of interests and behaviors. And under each of those, there's 4 examples, and I'll give you some information about each of those. All right, so the first area is in social impairment, is difficulty using or understanding nonverbal communication. So most people on the spectrum have a hard time making eye contact. A lot of times their facial expression is kind of unusual or flat, and they carry themselves as if they're a little bit stiff or awkward in their body. So their gait might be a little strange, their gestures are kind of absent, and their face is just not as, they sometimes don't look as comfortable in their body as you might see in a typically developing child. Does that make sense? So this characteristic is one of the most prevalent signs of autism. So at least 95 to 98% of people with autism have a hard time with nonverbal communication. And when it's possible to have autism and have fine nonverbal communication, but it's just very rare. So when that happens, it can kind of throw me off as a clinician because I'm just not used to seeing that. So I have to sort of really look at the rest of the pattern because most of the time there's difficulty with nonverbal communication. The second characteristic is difficulty making friends. And that's not the same thing as not wanting friends. So most people with autism want to have relationships. They want to belong to groups. They want to interact with other children or adults. They want to get married. They want to have girlfriends. But sometimes they have a hard time doing that. And it can be for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's because they don't know how to initiate to other children. Sometimes they don't know how to handle that back and forth, where sometimes when you're in a friendship, you sometimes do things that you don't want to do just because you want to be with the other person. Sometimes they're not really aware of all the possible friends around them. And they sometimes don't pick up on all the ways people can interact because they're not clued into all those environmental cues. So they miss a lot of opportunity to observe how other people make friends. And even if they want to make friends, they just usually have a hard time generating that behavior themselves. Sometimes what will happen is a friendship is formed around a shared interest. And that's how all of us form friendships. But sometimes the person with autism, if there isn't a shared interest, there isn't really the possibility of a friendship. It really is such a strong starting point for them. And then the fourth characteristic is difficulty with emotional reciprocity. And that's kind of the other side of this difficulty sharing your interests with others. So the difficulty sharing your interests is really how well you reach out to other people, and the emotional reciprocity is how well do you understand when people are trying to reach out to you. So emotional reciprocity is what happens, what you use when you kind of walk into a room and it's a new situation and you don't know anything about it, and you kind of just look around and you kind of get the vibe of what's going on. Is this a classroom? Is this a party? Is this a strategy room for a war? You know, what exactly is it? And you kind of go off the environmental cues, but also the emotional cues of the people in the room. Emotional reciprocity is what you use when you're young and you want something and you can't reach it and you want your mom to help you get it. So you grab your mom by the hand or whatever and you take her over there and you look at your mom and you're trying to make sure that your mom knows that you want something, right? So you're checked in with her and you're making sure she's checked in with you. And then you say, oh, I need that, right? Well, a child with autism sometimes will lack that part. They don't understand that if they just looked at you and asked you, you could help them. So oftentimes what you see is the child with autism will know that you can help me, but not because I ask you, but because you have those cool arms that have those wrench-like things. And if I just get one of those and I take it over here and I throw it up there, it'll know to get me that box of Fruit Loops, right? So it's kind of looks the same, but it has a totally different underlying basis, right? So the first one is purely social. I know if I convince this person I need help, they'll help me figure it out. The other one is purely mechanical. I need a hand that's taller than mine, and I'm going to take that one. And then you just hope it knows what to do, you know? And a lot of times when that happens, they don't make eye contact. So it's like they've missed that whole sense that that's a really efficient way to get you to help them.